They bring up the issue of racism in Australia. So these ISD officers especially talk about Australians are racist, talk about hate crimes. I did not get reports. I did not get to read newspapers or anything like that. All the information that I get, that I received while in detention, all came from ISD officers or the psychologists. So, or sometimes from the religious counselor. So if they talk about racism or hate crimes or whatever, that is all the information that I get. Now, so whenever they brought up this issue of racism, and there's two parts to it also. So they say, no, Australians are racist. And I keep on telling them, racism exists in every society. In every society, especially now, because you're looking at people moving from one place to another, one society to another. There's this sense of deprivation. There's this sense of the othering of the other, right? It comes also with a sense of fear. So yes, racism exists in every society. Is there racism in Australia? Yes, there is racism in Australia. Is there racism in Singapore? Yeah, there is racism in Singapore. Now, what's the difference? The difference is not that there's more racism in Australia or in Singapore. The difference is that in Australia, Australians admit and acknowledge the fact that there is racism, acknowledge the fact that there is personal racism and there is systemic and institutional racism. And because they admit to its existence, they develop institutions to address racism. Only when you admit to it can you then seek to overcome it. In Singapore, the PAP government reject the existence of racism, even though they make racist statements. They have made so many crazy racist statements. Now, it's not just about the statements. It also reflects the fact that the society did not challenge those statements. And I'm talking not just about the societies, the communities that were affected, the communities that were not affected, who were then who are aware of the statements, did not challenge those statements. The fact that you do not challenge means that you accept those statements being made as if it represents you. And there is institutional racism, and they have admitted to it, but they admit to it unofficially. The problem is that you do not see policies. You do not see the policies that say only this race can do this, or these policies don't exist. Not on paper, not in writing. It exists in the way that they talk about it. It exists in the outcome. So you can see that certain races are overrepresented in this area, or very much underrepresented in this area. You can see how it works, and you can see how it affects the lives of different members of different communities. But they do not acknowledge their existence. Most of us, or a lot of us, right, can see and accept and admit that it exists. But how do you address something that's never been acknowledged? How do you even try to challenge or change something that has not been acknowledged, something that's not written? What if, let's say, you try to go to court and you say that there's this racist policy, then the judge will ask, but where is it? You can show the outcome of it, but you cannot say that it exists. So how do you address that? So in Australia, yes, there is racism, but there are institutions that help, that you can use, or you can work on, or you can work with to address racism. In Singapore, it exists, but nothing you can do about it. What can you do? So when there are clear instances of racism, then of course you bring it up. But then you'll be... one of the crazy things about racism in Singapore is or maybe in everywhere, if you point out racism, especially government policies that are racist, you'll be accused of being a racist for bringing up issues of race. And some may assume that you're talking about another race. When I challenge the government on their policies, there's this sense of by some other Singaporeans as if you are attacking other races. I don't talk about other races, right? I don't criticize other races. I talk about the PAP government's policies. But the way that it's been played out, especially by the government, is that one, by raising those issues, you become a racist. And two, as if it is a challenge, an attack on the other races. No, it's a challenge on government's policies. So the thing is this: racism exists in Australia, yes. Racism exists in the United States, yes. Yes, pretty much every country, I think there's racism. It exists in Singapore, yes. In a lot of these countries, especially the liberal democracies, you have this concern of the tyranny of the majority, and you create institutions to make sure that you minimize, even if there's no way that you can get rid of racism. And of course, even the institutions are not perfect, but because you have the ability to challenge even the institutions themselves, you can make it more and more perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but you can make it better. You have that ability to challenge it, not just challenge the policies, but the institutions themselves. In Singapore, racism exists. The problem is that there's nothing you can do about it.